Welcome to GESARA for Dummies. It is June 9, 2025. Let's look at today's news from Professor William Liebenberg, prepared by Martin Stein. Please like, share and subscribe. Join our Telegram group in the comments below. Thank you. Let's go. Banks and economy. The Federal Reserve has losses of $231 billion at the end of May on their balance sheet. Yes, $231 billion. Somebody should ask Jerome Powell about this. All Trump has to do is enact the Gold Reserve Act 1934, and in seconds the Fed would cease to exist. But this is exactly what the Q military intelligence said: gold shall destroy the Fed. Timing is everything. Payment systems. Paul Atkins just shook the globalists. SEC Chair Paul Atkins says the right to self-custody crypto is a foundational American value. Let's watch.
Another core feature of blockchain technology is the ability of individuals to have self-custody of crypto assets in a personal digital wallet. The right to have self-custody of one's private property is a foundational American value that should not disappear when one logs on to the internet. I'm in favor of affording greater flexibility to market participants to self-custody crypto assets, especially where intermediation imposes unnecessary transaction costs or restricts the ability to engage in staking and other on-chain activities.
Set the standard for the sovereignty of your own funds in the cryptocurrencies regulations, sign it into law, and roll it out globally, so that other dictator countries can be nullified. SEC Chair Paul Atkins also said they are working on policy to exempt DeFi platforms from regulatory barriers. Man, I like the way these patriots think, and help to shape America, and the world. Eric Trump just said it out loud. SWIFT is broken. And there is a digital currency that would be backed by the US dollar, and US treasuries that works 24/7, 365 days. They won't say the name. But, those who've been watching, already know, Ripple Dollar, RLUSD. It's not coming. It's ready. Let's watch.
And I go, why do these banks even need to exist? What is it that JP Morgan Chase does, that DeFi, that blockchain can't do better, cheaper, more efficiently, more transparently? Hence really the creation of this idea, and really hence my entrance into the cryptocurrency world. And I think it's going to solve a lot of problems. The SWIFT system in this country is absolutely broken. Every week I'm waiting for a wire transfer to come in at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, or trying to send one out. It's slow, it's lethargic, it doesn't make any sense. You look at what digital currency can do. You look what a digital currency backed by the US dollar, backed by US treasuries, that can be sent anywhere on earth instantaneously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, can do. It's going to revolutionize finance, and we're very excited to be on the forefront of it.
That's why crypto like XRP exists, to make that entire cross-border payment nightmare instant, secure, and cost-efficient. Genius Act Stablecoin Bill is very close to be signed in this week. Let's watch.
We will start voting on the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Bill, this week. I don't think we're going to complete it this week. We'll probably have to go into next week because a number of amendments will be filed. But we have worked long and hard to bring Democrats to the place where they can vote for cloture. I think we're there.
So what are the remaining hurdles for Democrats? What have they told you that their concerns are? What's keeping them from getting on board completely?
Well, we have generally agreed to many of the amendments they wanted. There were concerns about illicit finance. We've addressed some of those. And we're just waiting to see what amendments are filed by both parties as we move the bill to full consideration on the floor of the Senate. One of the things that I'm looking for is whether the Durbin-Marshall bill, it will be attempted to attach to the stablecoin bill. It's not about stablecoins, it's about credit card swipe fees, but This bill may be seen as a vehicle to attach, and that would be a heavy lift to take a bill that already has been carefully negotiated and add a new subject that is that controversial.
So just one more on the timeline here for the American people who are watching and listening right now. In your view, what sort of week or month could this bill actually become law?
Well, we're going to pass it next week.
Okay.
And so it will provide new markets for U.S. treasuries. It will help protect the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. It will provide a way for something like a traveler's check to be used digitally. It's pegged to the dollar, so it's it's a payment stablecoin, something that can be used for payments in a digital format. This is going to create more versatility for the U.S. economy and move us into the 21st century.
The GESARA law. And just like that, the Trump-Elon feud is gone. Just in, President Trump says he won't get rid of his Tesla or Starlink, and wishes Elon Musk well. Just in, Elon Musk deletes post saying President Trump's tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. Irregular warfare at its best. Psychological warfare mission achievement, return to normal. What Gavin Newsom and the Democrats wanted, but Trump stopped them. Let's watch.
They know too much. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. First one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation, because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand. The next stage is destabilization. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. And after crisis, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C. Your leftists in the United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. The time bomb is...
The Q military intelligence, Delta Post warnings, are once again astoundingly spot on, and this should make you very happy. Donald J. Trump, a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now violent, insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations, but these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, in coordination with all other relevant departments and agencies, to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. Thank you for your attention to this matter. In other words, Commander-in-Chief, Trump, orders Pentagon to liberate LA from the migrant invasion and end these migrant riots. Washington Post reporter, Dan Lemid, the Marine Corps unit placed on prepare to deploy orders for a potential mission in Los Angeles unrest is 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, defense officials say. It's an infantry unit based at 29 Palms, California. U.S. Northern Command is reportedly saying that approximately 500 active duty Marines are prepared to deploy amid unrest in LA. Let's swatch.
Also want to ask you about some breaking news that we're just getting in. This is brand new into our newsroom, that the U.S. Northern Command is saying that approximately 500 active duty Marines are, quote, prepared to deploy, in their words, as unrest in Los Angeles continues. This is after, of course, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, had mentioned this. Is that necessary at this point?
No, I'm going to be, I mean, not operationally, it's not necessary. There may be other reasons for it. I want to just put this.
U.S. Northern Command statement. Elements of the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team, from the California National Guard, have begun deploying to the Los Angeles area, with some already on the ground. Additional information will be provided as units are identified and deployed. Hegseth posted to social media that Marines were on high alert, ready to mobilize if ICE and the 2,000 National Guardsmen already in Los Angeles needed backup. Dedicated patriot, FBI Director Kash Patel, put the nail in the coffin. Just so we are clear, this FBI needs no one's permission to enforce the Constitution. My responsibility is to the American people, not political punchlines. LA is under siege by marauding criminals, and we will restore law and order. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. FBI Director Kash Patel, hit a cop, you're going to jail. Doesn't matter where you came from, how you got here, or what movement speaks to you. If the local police force won't back our men and women on the thin blue line, we FBI will. Kash warns, LAPD, backing the rioters? Communist Governor Newsom has responded by calling President Trump a dictator, inciting and provoking violence, creating mass chaos, militarizing cities, arresting opponents. These are the acts of a dictator, not a president. California Governor Gavin Newsom issues statement, is backed by all Democratic governors. Every single Democratic governor agrees, Donald Trump's attempts to militarize California are an alarming abuse of power. POTUS, if officials stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges. Let's swatch.
California officials could face federal charges if they stand in the way of the deportation. Something that Holman may have suggested.
If officials stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges. Thank you very much.
This situation has devolved into a pretty serious constitutional crisis. For the Trump administration to back down now would seriously curtail federal authority and be an immense loss of face, while for Communist Governor Newsom and California, it would be the same for them should they lose. Although it remains fairly localized, unlike the 2020 riots that swept the U.S., the situation is now just as dangerous and politically critical as those events. This is the first time the federal government has exercised federalization of the National Guard over the wishes of a state since the Civil Rights era, and we cannot think of a time since the American Civil War that federal authorities have threatened to arrest a state government. Q Military Intelligence Post 1332 states. Fellow patriots, what you are about to learn should not only scare you, but intensify your resolve to take back control, freedom. The information that will become public will further demonstrate the criminal and corrupt, pure evil, abuse of power, that the Hussein administration undertook in joint efforts with domestic and foreign dignitaries. The snowball has begun rolling, there is no stopping it now. D5. Stay the course, and trust the plan. Protective measures are in place. Remain brave. We knew this day would come. United we stand, WW. W.W.G.1. WGA. We fight. Conspiracy no more. Now, June 14th is a significant day. Q Military Intelligence Post 856 says the following. A parade that will never be forgotten. Ask yourself, why? God bless our brave men and women in uniform. We will never forget. The military parade in Washington, D.C., is scheduled for Saturday, June 14, 2025, to celebrate the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary. On the same day, hundreds of left-wing organizations will hold violent protests around the country. It's on U.S. military versus domestic terrorists. I've come across rumors suggesting that Democrats are leaving Washington, D.C., in large numbers due to an event allegedly tied to the military parade, scheduled for June 14, 2025. Anything is possible. Q Military Intelligence Post 4414 for June 4 stated. IM Loyalists. Red 1, POTUS Twitter removal. Red 2, Central Communications blackout, Continental U.S. Red 3, Klaus Movement Pelosi or Pence. Red 4, Movement of Mill Assets, 10th Mountain _1st Marine CPSD Marine _KVR, to central locations under guise of citizen riot control. Red 5, Nat Milcom Ken. Red 6, SEC of Def _instruct 1 USSS. Castle _Rock. Let's break this down, to see what started on June 4 already, for what is now unfolding in LA. 1. Hegseth said hundreds of Marines deployed from Camp Pendleton, San Diego, together with thousands of National Guards. CPSD, is Camp Pendleton, San Diego, where the 1st Marine Division is stationed. 2. The Post said, 1st_Marine CPSD. To central locations under guise of citizen riot control. Infiltrate the rioters, identify leader elements, and arrest them. Then go up the food chain, to see who is sponsoring the riots, follow the money. 3. Think back to the very first Q post, expect massive riots organized in defiance, open disregard, and others fleeing the U.S. to occur. USMs, Marines, will conduct the operation while NG, National Guard, activated. So, we've seen all these predictions unfolding, which brings us to President Trump's clear call sign on X, Twitter. Q military intelligence clearly and distinctly stated, when you see President Trump post these specific words, then you know. Q military intelligence post 1621 tells us where President Trump's the storm signal derived from. WWG1G. Where did the storm derive from? Some things leave lasting impressions. Listen carefully. When did POTUS make the statement? When did we arrive to start the awakening? You have more than you know. Fireworks. Let's watch.
The ship beneath you is not a toy, and sailing's not a game.
So why the hell do it?
Bill's character, Mr. Preston, of which you are in desperately short supply.
They came from different places.
And this Ocean Academy isn't recognized as accredited.
It'll be a good thing, Dad.
They sailed for different reasons.
I don't want to be what I was when I left.
There you go.
Anonymous.
But there was only one way.
We'll do it together.
I can't.
Climb!
To survive on his ship.
I will challenge them, and they will come together.
Become a team.
Where we go one, we go all.
Because where he was taking them...
What are they doing?
Claiming their place in the world.
Could not be measured in miles. They thought they had survived the greatest challenge of their lives.
We had come through every kind of seas imaginable.
Except a white squall.
But it was only...
White squalls are a phenomenon of the imagination.
The calm.
What happened to my ship was not imagined.
Before the storm. Largo Entertainment presents a film about loyalty.
Where we go one,
we go all.
Discovery.
But we're a crew. That's what this whole thing is about.
And courage.
Don't you walk out of this, Skipper, you don't!
Captain, they're only boys.
We listened to you, we believed you!
they're much more than that, sir.
And we are still here!
Jeff Bridges in a Ridley Scott film. White Squall. Based on a true story.
Well, on his pseudonym account, on X, he posted this on Sunday, June 8. A great indication that we are close. Mass invasion of a country is an act of war. A government failing to protect a country is an act of treason. All paid protesters, raising your fist and strike, that is an act of treason. If you are not a citizen and participate in the riot, then it is an act of war. Bring the storm, Mr. President. Food for thought. President Trump issues a new statement on the riots happening in Los Angeles. If they spit, we will hit. This is a statement from the President of the United States concerning the catastrophic Gavin Newsom-inspired riots going on in Los Angeles. The insurrectionists have a tendency to spit in the face of the National Guardsmen/women, and others. These patriots are told to accept this, it's just the way life runs. But not in the Trump administration. If they spit, we will hit, and I promise you, they will be hit harder than they have ever been hit before. Such disrespect will not be tolerated. With this, Trump activates the Insurrection Act, and deploys thousands of troops into Los Angeles, to crush anarchy, arrest masked traitors, and bypass Democrat obstruction. The deep state's game is over, America is back in Trump's hands. This is insurrection mode. President Trump deploys troops to LA, arrest the masked traitors. Meanwhile in Ukraine. Let's watch.
The Ukraine-Russian war, where the United Nations, NATO, the UK, the United States of America are all fighting for the democracy of Ukrainian citizens. What a load of bollocks. You see, Ukraine is actually one of the richest countries in the entire world in terms of natural resources, and whoever controls Ukraine controls those resources. So let's go through some of them today, and then you might understand why we're really sending troops to Ukraine. Natural gas. Ukraine has Europe's second largest gas reserves after Norway, with an estimated 1.1 trillion cubic meters of untapped gas. And Ukraine also has some of the biggest lithium reserves in Europe, critical for making batteries for electric cars and future tech industries. Then there's uranium. Ukraine is one of the largest uranium deposits in Europe, which are essential for nuclear weapons. Then there's the coal and iron ore. Ukraine is home to some of the largest iron ore deposits in the entire world, making it a key player in steel production. Now, the funny thing is if Ukraine stayed aligned with Moscow, Moscow would control these resources. If Ukraine is integrated into the West, Western corporations, especially big oil, big tech, and the military-industrial complex, get the first dibs, don't they? Now, you see why this war is about more than just borders? But it's also the real breadbasket of Europe. See, it controls global food supply. Ukraine isn't just rich in minerals, it's one of the biggest food producers in the entire world. 12% of global wheat exports, 16% of global corn exports, and 50% of global sunflower oil exports. It's not just about feeding Europe. Ukraine's grain feeds Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. If you control Ukraine, you control global food supply chains. Interesting, hey? And guess who's already circling like vultures? BlackRock and Western investment firms are buying up Ukrainian farmland at record rates. US and EU agribusiness giants are moving in, taking over local food production. And if Russia had control over this, the West would be dependent on Moscow for food security. This war isn't about saving Ukrainian citizens. It's about making sure Russia doesn't get a monopoly on these essential resources. Then, of course, there's the NATO expansion, squeezing Russia out of Europe. Do you ever wonder why NATO is so obsessed with Ukraine? Because if Ukraine joins NATO, it basically means Western military bases are then on Russia's doorstep. Western corporations control Ukraine's resources, and the final nail in the coffin for Russia's influence in Europe. Russia knows this, which is why they drew a red line on Ukraine joining NATO. The West ignored it, provoked Russia, and now we have a war likely to escalate into World War III. We can't possibly allow Putin to have Ukraine because he'd get all these resources, and then the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist anymore, would be pushing up against NATO's borders. But it's perfectly okay to do it the other way around, isn't it? And push NATO's borders into Russia. Oh my God. Here's the kicker. Even though NATO claims it's defending Ukraine, they've made it abundantly clear that Ukraine isn't actually getting membership.
That sums up your Tuesday news. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.